In this video, we'll start to explore how you can use dynamic Chart.js. So Chart.js has a lot of options, and one of them is creating your chart dynamically. So what does that mean? So if you have a dynamic chart, basically we're going to focus here on the Chart.js documentation. You see here updating charts function. So this is a function where you can control and update the chart when you have new data. This can do on click, on load, on anything what you want. So what we're going to do is basically use the onClick function and make our chart dynamic. So to do that, we have to work with a plain HTML document. And what we're going to do now is very simple. We're going to add up all of these things. First things, what we need is what we call a starter template. I will use Bootstrap as the starter template. If I scroll down here, you'll see here the starter template. I'll just copy this, and as I copy this, I'll just paste it in here. Alright, so we have one, and then we just change here. We say dynamic chart.js, same here up in the title. So once we did that, you can see here if you reload now, it starts to work. That's nice. Next part is this part here where we're going to work with the Chart.js getting started part. What we need is the canvas ID. We'll just put this somewhere here between. Then what we need is the Chart.js library, and we're going to adjust this to 2.7, the most updated currently. So we can say here, we have to put this somewhere down, space it in here, and then we say 2.7.2. All right. And finally, we're going to add up this part here, which is the Chart.js information. So we'll add this up in here, and we type in here script. Now we have a closing script tag. And between here, we just paste all the information here. We have the lines. All right. So for me, I will just adjust this because it's a pinkish color. I like the blue color more. So let's save that. Go back in here. Refresh. Now we have a nice blue line chart. All right. So what I'll do now is just to make this more easier to, I'll just confine it in a smaller location and give it some quick design. So the first thing what we're going to do is we're just going to add up a div here between. So what I like here is I will just use this as a color here. I will say here class, and then I'll make this one BG warning, so it has a nice yellow orange background. Then what we will do here is I'll make a div class, and I say colon B6, and then we need to make an offset, so we put it in the center. So basically like a card. So offset 3, all right. Then here we have a closing one, and then between here we will start to put in another div with the card. So a class card, and what we'll do here as well, underneath here we will say div class, we'll say card body, and once we did that, closing tag here, and we can just copy this as well, and we just put it in here, and let's close that. All right, indentation here, and probably we need this one as well. So let's see, we're just still missing one div, final div here. So we have this div closing, this closes the card, and then between here we have everything. Nice. Refresh. This works very well. So let's do only one more item here. We'll just move in the, we can do it in here, or we do it probably in the bottom. Now we will say margin, no, padding 5. You can do maybe padding top or padding Y5, so it's only top and bottom will be 5. Refresh, there you are. All right, So now we have that the design is fine. Let's start and work on our updating chart. So once we want to update the chart, what we need to do is the following. We need to create a button. Yes, we will add up a button here. And this button will have what we call an on-click function. So if we go back to our Chart.js documentation, we're going here to the updating chart. You can find some of the information here. This is probably the most essential part you need to know. And of course, we give the function a name. So let's do that now. So we say here a button. And then we say class btn success. All right, so we have a success button, closing tag for a success button. And in here we'll say update. What we can do here, we say on click to activate a JavaScript, and then we say update chart. So that's our function. This function, of course, has not been named yet, so it's still unknown. But if we will check here, we have now at least something here. And if we open up our developer tab, you can see it does read something, but of course it gives an error. Main reason for this is because we didn't define it. Let's define that one now. So what we want to do is we want to basically, we have these values, these values here of the data from the chart. We want to update them. Yes, so updating basically means replace the values here. So let's try that and do the following. We're going to give this a function. So what is our function? Our function was named update chart, and in here we can put in everything what we want. So now it's the question, what do we want to do? Well, we want to we need this at least, and then after we need to update the values as well. So what we'll say here is the following. So what do we want to update? If you look here, we want to update inner chart. It's located in the data, located in the data sets. And this data sets is like an array, so it's the first data set. And in the first data set, we want to focus on data. So this is very important. So we say here, chart.data sets, and then remember, this is the first data set in the array. So we say 0 dot, and then we can say data. And then we say equals. And you want to do equal, and then we can put in here basically all the values you want. So I'll show you this one first. You can see here, and then let's make this 10. I'll make this 20, 30, I'll just make this 4, and then 50, 60, and 70. All right, so once we did that, let's save now. We can remove this space between here. Let's save this, go back to our chart here, refresh. So nothing happens until we click here, and now as we click, you can see it suddenly changes. So this works beautifully. Of course, we're not done yet because you can do far more with this. So maybe you say, well, this is static data. So what if we have variables? Yes. So let's add up a variable here. So we say here, for example, variable, and then we say the variable will be named old data equals this. So we just put this in here. Then, of course, we can remove this, and we say here old data. So let's save this, and if you refresh now, you'll see it works perfectly. And if we update, it also works as well accordingly, because it reads the data of our variable here. It reads this variable, and this variable basically is the array of the values. So what happened now if we say variable, and let's add up new data equals the one we have here. So we cut that out. We paste that in here, semicolon at the very end, and then in here we need to give the name, what we have here, the variable new data. So put in new data here, save this, refresh, let's update again, and beautiful. So this works now all accordingly. And this, of course, is only for data set number 1. Yes, it's the array is counting by 0. So what if we have another data set? So let's add up a new data set. We just copy all of this information here from the curly brackets, nes. Then in here we just paste this, and we have now our second data set here. And our second data set will have a new color. Let's make this pure green. So we'll make this 200, so it will be a strong green color. All right, and then here we have now not old data. Let's give this old data 1. And what we will do here is exactly the same. Since basically you're working with the same methodology, is here as well the array focusing on the number 1. Yes, so we have your old data 1. This should be new data 1. All right. Of course, if we do this, we need to copy all of this. Let's put these in here. Old data 1, new data 1. And let's change some of these numbers so you can see some differences. So I say 80, this is 70, this is 60, 50, 40, and 30. And this one here, well, let's change that as well. We say 5, we say 10. Let's make this 55, and then we go down again here to 15. Then we have 20, and then let's make this again 55, and then we have 25. So to make sure that we don't conflict each other, because you can see later on that we have two, because of the background color, it will block each other. Yes, well, we can save this, but we will also remove the background color of it. So I'll just comment this out, so it will give a transparent grayish background. Let's save that, refresh. As you can see now, we have this nice chart with 2 lines, and let's update them. And as we update, you can see the second line is working in this mountainous structure, while the other one is a very linear structure. And of course, this is exactly what it should be, because that's the one we had here is 55, 55. All right, so now you have this, and now you have an understanding of how to do some of these dynamic options with your chart, because this part is very essential if you want to continue using some data of MySQL or MySQL. So next, what we can do is we can play around with some of the new items as well, or let's, instead of replacing our data, maybe you want to add up a new data here at the end. Yes, or maybe you want to change the labels here. We can change those labels as well. How to do that? Well, if you look at it, we have here the labels. Yes, these labels are down here. This is the label of the line or related to the legend. So what we can do now is the following. Instead of adding new chart data, what we want to do is now we want to pinpoint the chart and data labels. So then we're going to pinpoint the labels, and there's only 1 labels here, so we can focus on that. Dot labels, and maybe we want to say instead of January, we want to count only the remaining ones. So we say August. So what we have to do here, make an array, and then in the array, commas and a quotation between there. So we say here, and comma. All right, so we say August. What we have here, we have what is it? September, comma, October, comma, November, comma, December. So once you did that, semicolon at the very end. Very important here, because you can see here we only have 5 values in the label. So, the labels only have 5 values compared to here. Here we have 7. So what does this mean? If we do this by only having 5 values or 5 labels, it means that the values of new data will be chopped off after the 5th. The 6th and 7th value will not be shown. So that's very important, because Chart.js, the line chart, is worked based on this. So it will consider basically this as the priority of how many data points it expects. If you have 7 of these, you expect 7 data points. But we only have 5. So let me show you that. So let's save this so you will just see it. Refresh. Everything works fine here, but then if you click update, what happens is it chops off 2 data points. As you can see here, it will just cut it off. And that's basically it. But if you look here down, we have our labels working nicely, and now we have August till December. Imagine you want to add up a new value at the very end. How can we do this? Well, let me show you as well. Another option here. This is what we call the push. So basically we're pushing a value at the end of the array. So it will add up a new value. So what we can do here, for example, we want to, we have this update, and to make it more easier and more clear, we're going to create just a new function. And this function we will name push, or well, just add value. Alright, so we just say add value. Basically what we do is we want to add just a one value at the end. So what we do here is we just say the value chart data, and then we can do it with labels equals, because this is a static data right now I'm doing. That's what we're so because it's static, sorry. Wait, before we do that, let's chart data labels dot push. Alright, and then in here in the push we have to put in the value or whatever we want to add up. So in this case we want to add up January. Alright, so what happened is that when we click here on update chart, it will add till December, and then we can add this function here to push January. Remember, because we're working here now with a static value, that means that you will consistently add the same value over and over. Let me show you that. Before we do that, we just need to put in a new button. And in this button, it's almost similar to what we have. Yes, I'll just copy that one and just put it here between. It's almost similar, but except here now it will be add value. And the add value will say just +1. Simple. And then we say here, this will be info. So it will be a teal color. Refresh. Alright. So now you can see here, we update this, and once we update, it will go to December, and then we say push. Oh, as you can see, push is not working, and let me double check here what's going on. It pushes, but it does not update yet. So let's go back here. And the reason why it doesn't update, of course, it makes sense. We didn't use the update value here. So we have to put this update value here, semicolon here. Let's save that one more time. Refresh. Update our chart, yes, and then we need +1, and then again +1. As you can see here, as we plus it, consistently January will be added, and you will see now these data are being shown here, but after that there's no more values. So if there's no more values, it doesn't show anything more, because we have no data value as well here. What we can do, of course, is add up that as well. So let's add up that one as well. And now when we say here labels, then instead of labels we can say here our data sets. Remember, this is the array, so we say the first one of the data set array. Then we have dot data dot push, and then what do we want to push? Well, guess what? We want to push a value. So let's make a crazy value of 999. Alright, so we want to push the number 999. Alright. Refresh now. Let's update, and now let's push. And then you can see now something happens, but remember what happened exactly. So if I click here, we'll see if we keep on pushing, because we had these numbers here, so it will push a value at the end of the array. So that's the number 8 value is becoming shown. So that's why if you see here, if you do this only, it will work. Yes, this is the next number in line. However, if we do update, we have 2 items in our array that's not being shown. But so it will not be shown until the other, or at least if we click on this, it doesn't show our 999 value, because the other 2 are in line first to be displayed. I hope you understand it. So basically that's the push structure. So you push it, but you push it at the end of the array, meaning it will add up how many values are in line, and then at the very last it will add up that number. Alright, so now you have a little bit more information about this. Why not play around with what we call shift? So maybe you've seen as well that if you click on one, then at the very end this will disappear. Well, we can do that as well, because maybe this doesn't look nice, because let's be honest, we have too many lines here and it will consistently increase. So what we can do is add value, or basically what I call rotating the value. Yes, What we want to do now is we'll say we copy almost everything of this, yes, we remove this and we say shift. So what is shift? Shift betekent it removes the first value of the array, yes. So what happened now, let's refresh, and then as we click here on update, and then pay attention to this number 100 here, or the 99 on the second, and this is number 0, up, if you click on that, it starts to probably change. Yes, you can see here 99 still, but this is number 10 now instead of 0. So let's do again, plus. And of course, so I realize that this one is not being shown, or this will not be impacted, but the first line will be. So you can see here, if you keep on clicking, it will remove consistently that value. And that's basically what is happening. So you can see here, it keeps on removing the value and until the very end. So this is basically how shift works. So you remove the value at the very beginning, so it will start to rotate. Especially this one here, these two are rotating, while the other one probably has no impact at all. Alright, so this is really a lot that we're going to update, and you can even do, maybe if you want to do is unshift, is to basically undo the first value, or you will unhide the first value, or you add a value at the beginning. So basically you're adding a value at the beginning instead of removing. Shift is removing the value at the very beginning. So let's try that one. Let's save this, refresh again, and then let's click here, and then what happened, you can see instantly it jumps up to 999. So we add the value at the beginning. So with shift you can remove the value at the with shift you remove the value at the beginning. With unshift you add value at the beginning. With push you add value at the end of the array. And there's also pop. So what does pop do? Pop removes the value at the end. So let's refresh, and now just pay attention. So we have the blue line is the first one in the first data set. So 45 will be removed, and we'll jump back here to 30. So let's do that. As you can see here, the moment I click, 30 is the last in line. And if you do that again, consistently, you can see we remove the entire chart itself, or the line from the chart. And that's really how you can use dynamic options with Chart.js. And you can see here there are a lot of options here. However, if you know a lot about JavaScript arrays, or do some research regarding to JavaScript arrays, you can really play around with that, because there are so many functions in there. And this basically here is the data set. What is important, if you tell me, or if you would ask me, it is pop for remove last value. You have shift equals removes first value. What do we have more? We have shift, not shirt. That doesn't make any sense. Shift of unshift equals add the value at the very beginning, of the array. All right, and finally you have push equals add the value at the very end of the array. So that's basically it. So if you want to replace the values, of course, just rename basically the data set, or data set equals the values which are displayed at the beginning of the video. And are there some other options? Yes, you can do, for example, reverse. This is something additional. Let's hide this one. We don't need that. Comment that one out. Reverse. So basically what will happen is we reverse the values of our data. So if you do here, just see this will change suddenly. Alright, as you can see now, this is 45, and if I'm correct, this should be 45. Yes, this is 0 and 45, and if you click on that, you reverse the value. And of course, you can do a lot of nice things with it, but the 4 that I displayed here up are essential. And of course, the one where you say the data set, data equals, so basically this equals whatever value here, and then here variable, you should enter here the variable, and that's it. So if you like this and you like all this information here regarding Chart.js, check out my Chart.js course on Udemy. In there we have a lot of topics. We go very deep in every aspect of Chart.js, creating all different type of charts, creating different coloring designs, creating gradual design of colors, MySQL connections, and of course the Ajax connection, where you can combine it all together with this.